A slugfest over power bills has broken out in the national capital over an increase in tariffs that distribution companies can charge consumers. Simply put, your bills are set to go up if you live in Delhi, and politicians are blaming each other. The BJP claims that this is because the ruling Aam Aadmi Party has a nexus with the three power distribution companies in the state. The Aam Aadmi Party blames the BJP-led central government for mismanagement of coal supplies to the country, which has led to a hike in tariffs. But beyond this slugfest, it's important to understand what exactly has happened. Now, the DERC, which is the Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission, has agreed to a petition by three companies that distribute power in the city to increase tariffs in line with the cost of fuel. This particular surcharge is called FPPCA, or Fuel and Power Purchase Cost Adjustment Charge. This means the extra cost to account for fluctuating prices of crude oil and coal. Now, these companies have been petitioning the regulator to let them increase the charges, and they've been hiked for 9.42%, that's for BSES Yamuna Power, 6.39% for BSES Rajdhani Power, and 2% for NDMC. The exact impact on the final bill is not yet clear, though the State Minister for Power, Atishi, says that those who use under 200 units will continue to get power free. It's those who use more who will have to pay the surcharge.
अगर केंद्र सरकार की नीतियों के वजह से बिजली के दाम बढ़ेंगे, अगर केंद्र सरकार की नीतियों की वजह से एनटीपीसी के पावर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पर यूनिट के दाम बढ़ेंगे, अगर केंद्र सरकार की नीतियों की वजह से कोयले के दाम बढ़ेंगे, तो इसका असर ना सिर्फ दिल्ली पर बल्कि पूरे देश की बिजली पर आने वाला है। भारत में ना कोयले की कमी है, भारत में ना गैस की कमी है, पर अगर आज उसकी कमी हो रही है जिसकी वजह से दाम बढ़ रहे हैं, इसके लिए सिर्फ और सिर्फ भारतीय जनता पार्टी की केंद्र सरकार जिम्मेदार है।
और भी तो राज्य है, और राज्यों में पता करिए क्या इस तरह की कोई बढ़ोतरी हो रही है? बिल्कुल नहीं। ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ दिल्ली में और सिर्फ अरविंद केजरीवाल के द्वारा किया जा रहा है, और हम इसलिए लगातार इस पर हम जांच भी चाहते हैं और बढ़ी हुई दरों को वापस भी दिलाना चाहते हैं।
All right, so the minister claims the culprit is the centre whose mismanagement has increased the use of imported coal. India's annual import of coal has gone up from about 208 metric ton in 2018 all the way to 254 metric ton in 2023. Now, the Aam Aadmi Party claims the cost of imported coal is 10 times more. The point to understand, though, is this a problem restricted to just Delhi? The KERC increased tariffs as soon as elections began in Karnataka. Remember that fight which went on. The MERC increased tariffs in Maharashtra from April 1st. So is this just inevitable? And then there is this blame game going on? Or do we need to really relook at our power production and consumption in this country? To speak more on this, Nighat Abbas, a spokesperson of the BJP, is with me today. Harry Dhaul, DG, Independent Power Producers Association, is joining me on the show. Professor A.G. Iyer, President, Renewable Energy Promotion Association, is with me. And I'm also speaking with Dr. Piyush Joshi, political analyst. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today on the show. Let me come to you, Ms. Abbas. Is it really the fault of the Aam Aadmi Party that DERC has increased rates? It's a regulator who has taken that decision. It's the same thing that happened in Karnataka. By the way, the state of Maharashtra, the MERC has increased rates on the 1st of April.
No, Tamanna, we need to know one thing. That first of all, Atishi Marlina, the so-called minister in Aam Aadmi Party's government, needs to really, at this point in time, work on strengthening her knowledge of in and around the world. Reason being, the way she's claiming there's a big shortage of coal in the nation. Had it been there was any reality that there's a shortage of coal in the country, the similar kind of problems the other states would have been facing. However, what we see right now is that there's only shortage of supply of electricity right now in Delhi is because Delhi government has miserably failed once again, according to the treaty, to buy enough coal from the central government. And as always, they're just trying to blame the central government for it. That's been always their blame game. One, had it been that there was any reality again in this, then she needs to know this fact that if at all there is a shortage of coal, the prices doesn't increase of electricity, the supply goes down. That is the difference. Now, when we talk about DERC, one question I need to ask from Arvind Kejriwal straight, and he's really answerable to the Delhi people, is that why is that he did not even wait for 4 days? The chairman, the new chairman of DERC was appointed, right? Why could you not wait for 4 days to take that decision? Why is that you literally pressurized a member of DERC to take that particular decision and increased? One. Second, one question to Atishi Marlena. She's been saying that we decrease prices, the prices go increase, we decrease. No, allow me for 10 seconds, please. Allow me to finish. Okay. She has been claiming that we decreased the prices in the month of winters, in December and all of that. You increased it from 16%, according to the power purchase agreement in June, to 22%, and right now it's 29%. Where are the papers lost? That you decreased the prices. Let's be very clear. Arvind Kejriwal was one of the persons who used to say that when I'll be in power in Delhi, I'll make sure that the prices of electricity doesn't go high. He has taken
what is your charge against the government?
He has taken more than 16,000 crore. Let me finish. He has taken more than 16,000 crore from the Delhiites in the name of fixed charges. When the prices aren't going high, and you give shortage of all of this nonsense, I need to know where has this money of Delhiites gone? It's very evident that you're corrupt.
We need to make a coherent argument. What exactly are you
confuse the
charging him
people of
for?
Delhi.
1 minute. Let me get Piyush Joshi in. I
am charging him for taking the commission. I am charging him for taking the commission from the companies. He's trying to increase and create that hike just because he wants that commission. He's playing on that vendetta of corruption right now. He needs that commission from the companies, and which is why he's trying to show
Piyush
that
Joshi,
the prices
I want to understand this issue because 1 minute. I want to understand this issue properly. 1 minute. Ms. Abbas, I heard you. I want to understand this issue properly because the whole system works the same across the country, where you have power distribution companies and they are regulated by a central authority, which is the boards, the DERC in Delhi, the MERC in Maharashtra, for example, in Karnataka is the KERC, and that's how they decide how much to charge. By the way, in Delhi, tariffs haven't gone up from 2014. And there is a free power scheme that the Aam Aadmi Party has brought in. Piyush Joshi, can you today blame the centre for coal? Can you blame the centre for coal? Because there are other states who are also increasing this. If the prices go up, then someone has to pay for it. If not the consumers of power, it's going to be the exchequer.
Well, fair enough. But to my understanding, why did the Minister Atish Singh actually blame centre? Because the centre is not able to regulate the prices of coal, number one. Number two, that the prices of gas is continuously going high. And when the raw material basically becomes expensive by the day, so definitely the regulators are left with no option but to revise the tariffs. And same is reflected through the power purchase agreement charges as well. And now what Atish has also said in the same statement that she issued, that the subsidy is going to continue despite the DERC's revision of the charges.
What? No, but can you give me, Piyush Joshi, can you give me a clarity on how much the hike will be for those who get 50% subsidy and who use more than 200 units? How much will the surcharge be? Is this going to be a surcharge on the total bill, or is it going to be an 8% increase on the base tariff? I'm seeing figures from 8% to 10% in increase. Is there any clarity on this? Then there is one statement which says it won't impact at all. So there's
No,
a lot of
certainly.
lack of clarity right now.
Yes. Indeed. I totally agree with you. There is a lack of clarity. Even
Yeah.
I am not clear because the government is still to issue the official order on this. But the data that I have in front of me is that the charges are going to be increased, varying from 1.49% to 7.79%. Based on the revision of charges of various power companies or various discoms. So for the 50% subsidy and for the various for the regions in which these power discoms are distributing. So 1.49% to 7.79%. And whether it is going to be on the base tariff or whether it is going to be on the total bill, we have to wait for the official order to come. But for those consumers, because it promotes the optimization of the usage of electricity. For those consumers who are using less than 200 units, the subsidy is going to continue unabated. And what the minister has been very, very clear in mentioning that जिनका zero bill है उनका bill zero ही रहेगा. So those who are paying no charges whatsoever, those who are using less than 200 units a month are going to continue
No, I said that already.
receiving
I said
the
that already.
benefits.
So your
Yeah.
subsidy continues. Your subsidy continues, but that means the subsidy burden also goes up. Because remember,
Yes.
subsidy is being given by the Delhi government.
Exactly.
It's not the distribution company who's giving that subsidy. This is why it's important to understand this. The Delhi government is paying for it. Now, where does the Delhi government get money from? From the taxpayer. I want to bring Harry Dhaul in to, try and understand how superficial and frankly pointless this political fight is. And I'm not saying this personally for the people on the panel. I'm saying as an overview, is this really a topic for a political fight? Because if costs of imported coal go up, if the price of crude goes up and down, then the charge is going to be passed on unless we have a more, sort of system that works better, a more efficient system. Harry Dhaul, can you weigh in on this? What are we seeing in Delhi?
Thank you, Tamanna. Actually, you've answered half my question, in fact, my response. You see, Delhi generates hardly 10% of the electricity it consumes. Let's take, for example, peak load of around 6,000 megawatts. Hardly 500 to 600 megawatts is generated within Delhi. Rest of the power comes from outside Delhi, from central power generating stations and other places. So you actually hit the nail on the head by saying the fluctuating prices of coal. So just to close this point, purchase of coal, fuel price increase is not within the borders of Delhi. It's outside Delhi by various generating stations and other entities that are supplying. Therefore, the question of Delhi buying coal or making preparations is a very limited issue, number one. Number two, let's analyze why prices are going up across the country. And I would like to quickly go into the fact that last year, in February, we had this Ukraine war crisis, which all of a sudden skyrocketed the prices of gas, oil, and therefore coal, because coal was being picked in generation where hitherto it was gas and not coal. So if Delhi is to buy power from outside, it is absolutely dependent on the prices of the generators outside Delhi. So when you look at this price increase, which has been given by the regulator, he's basically giving you a price increase for your fuel escalation, predominantly. And I don't know whether we can extend political debates in the international arena, but to my mind, the price of coal and the price of oil and gas, which are all three contributors to generating power and therefore the cost of power, actually have gone up for factors beyond national control or control of any government. In fact, I can't blame the BJP government on that.
Mr. Dhaul, having said that, it is well within the government's ambit to shield people from that increase, isn't it?
They're doing that.
They can come in and subsidize and say we will not let the average person pay more.
Yes. Now, Tamanna, what happens is that just to finish the point on the regulator, he is supposed to give a monthly increase as per the orders of the court, but he's only given a temporary increase for this quarter for the fuel escalation. And the second point which came out in the discussions earlier was this fuel escalation is predominantly for purchase of power from outside Delhi. So let's be very clear, it's the NTPCs of the world and others who have to relook at reduction in prices if possible. Now, it's another debate we can have on how government could intervene and perhaps subsidize or maybe re-engineer the way the coal and the energy is procured in this country. But that's another longish debate. But I want to also flag at this point that this price increases across the country. It's not just Delhi. And it's predominantly a fuel price increase. It's not that the fixed charges have gone up or somebody is trying to hike up the standard, the contract demand, etc., etc. So therefore, I would like to stop at this point and say that the monthly billing or the monthly amendments have been converted into quarterly ones. And this is basically for this quarter to make up for the high-cost power purchase which had to be done last year when there was a bit of a crisis that we had in the country for getting coal into the power stations.
Which has cooled off. Which has cooled off. Crude oil prices have cooled off slightly. Imported coal will always be more expensive and will pinch. I want to understand from Professor Iyer that to what extent will it percolate to people? I think people watching this at the end of the day will want to know to what extent will their bills go up? Is there any way to know that, and who decides that? Is it the distribution company? Is it the Delhi government? Who takes that final call?
I tell you, we have a Central Regulatory Commission called CERC. CERC is the top regulator, or you can say the umbrella regulator, and there are state electricity regulatory commission, like in Delhi, DRC, like I said, KERC, in Maharashtra, MERC, and so many of them in the 30 states we have, So basically what I feel is, it is job of the regulator to take care of all the stakeholders. Consumer is a major stakeholder because they pay the price, the domestic consumers. As far as the private sector is concerned, they have their own captive power plants, most of them. So at the end of the day, it is the government which is consuming, the institutions that are consuming, and the domestic consumer and the agriculture consumer. So industrial power cost rise is now a limited factor because they all have, majority of them have put their own captive power plants. After understanding this point, I think I'm not in favor of this free power business because 20 years back, we had opposed this whole issue, not from any other point, but from the point that there is a cost to produce electricity. So how can you keep talking about free power? And the politics of free power hurts the consumers at the end of the day. As far as the welfare part is concerned, there must be a limit to 50 units or 100 units. You can't go on, politically pitching that now somebody says 100 units free, another will say 200 units free, third one will give 300 units free. Nothing is free, my friend, in this world. So we will have to ready ourselves at that point.
The fact is all state governments across all parties want to promise free power to someone or the other. Whether it's based on consumption or it's for the agricultural sector, one way or the other, free power is a big freebie. But then, I don't want to digress into the merits or demerits of subsidies as a whole.
You want a solution? Tamanna, you want a solution from me? I'm a solutions man. I will tell you, I'll give the solution.
Right now, sir, frankly, I want to understand. If the BJP says it's the Aam Aadmi Party's fault and the Aam Aadmi Party says it's the central government's fault, is there any merit to any of those arguments? We want your expert view to understand. We like to debunk all of these political statements with facts. So we want your help doing that.
Just one statement. Give me 10 seconds. I will give you the solution. For a long time, I have been advocating a price risk fund. That means for any commodity, whether it's electricity or whether it's fuel, you must have a price risk fund. Especially after this pandemic, we should have done this. And there is no such fund in my country which can save the poor and the needy. And that's exactly what they have to do so that they can take from that pool and save from such situations when the price rise happens for input raw material, whether it's diesel, whether it is petrol, whether it's gas, whether it's coal. So unless they do this scientifically, all this slugfest is of no meaning to us.
Okay. I'm glad for that input. And with that input, I want to go back to Nikat Abbas and Piyush Joshi, who is a supporter of the Aam Aadmi Party for the purposes of this panel. Nikat Abbas, states will have to, and state regulatory councils will have to increase the cost of power beyond a point. Because if you're going to give a significant amount of power subsidized or free, whether it's to agricultural sector, whether it's to low-income families, which one could argue governments are supposed to do, someone will have to pick up that bill. Yes, Ms. Abbas.
Absolutely, which is why we keep telling that what Arvind Kejriwal has been offering about the freebies, what he has been trying to confuse and then convince the people of Delhi that we as a government, Aam Aadmi Party's government is going to give a freebie of 200 units, which is what has been reiterated by Atishi Marlena today, that we are going to give it free. It's not going to affect the people who are, subsidized with 200 units and all of that thing, which is why we keep telling that this freebie is all only a drama. One more thing I need to ask the unofficial spokesperson of Aam Aadmi Party, that when you're trying to blame the central government over the Delhi crisis, you need to tell that why is that there is another state which is run by Aam Aadmi Party government and which is Punjab. We do not see the similar kind of issue. Had it been there was an actual significant issue of coal shortage in the nation, isn't it possible, or isn't that a fact that Arvind Kejriwal's government again in Punjab would have faced the similar issues? It's just that right now Arvind Kejriwal is completely focusing on Delhi and giving the benefits to the DISCOMs so that he can extract money from them and get the commission, which is why I keep saying the same thing, that he's a corrupt chief minister.
Which commission are you referring to?
He's supposed to resign from his position because
I
what
want
he
to understand
promised
this corruption charge.
Yes.
Ms. Abbas, I want to understand this corruption charge. You're claiming the Delhi government is getting a commission from whom? The DISCOMs or the regulator?
Yes,
from whom?
Which is why I'm asking. Which is why in my first segment I'd asked. In my first segment, I'd asked that Atishi Marlena went on a national television doing a press conference claims that we are going to decrease, or we've already decreased the prices of electricity in the month of winters, which is December. Apparently, why is that in June 2022, you increased it from 16 to 22 and now it is 29%. Where are the papers that you decreased in December? Stop confusing people.
Okay, Piyush Joshi, your response.
She needs to work on
Piyush
strengthening her
Joshi,
knowledge. She doesn't even know what her government is doing right now.
Your response.
Let's be very clear.
As unclear is the charge that the Aam Aadmi Party government is colluding to increase prices, because at the end of the day, these distribution companies are those who are trying to make profit. Actually, they don't even make profit. They're trying to keep their head above water. Will they then share some of these profits with the government? One doesn't know. But on the other hand, to then blame the BJP for the price of coal and crude also seems, fairly unsubstantiated. Piyush Joshi.
Well, Tamanna ji, the BJP spokesperson can say whatever she wants. They usually say whatever they want without any iota of proof, without any substantial, evidence at their disposal. Now, coming back to the charges that the Honorable Minister of GNCT Delhi, she made, that the BJP government of center is responsible because as the panelists before me have already spoken about, that the Delhi does not produce its own electricity. It buys from 5 different power plants from outside Delhi, and 4 of them are of NTPC. So an NTPC is charging the DISCOMs more than what the DERC has recommended, approximately to the tune of 3 to 5% more than the official recommendations of DERC. So the central can buffer these charges, can set up a mechanism which can actually lead to purchase of power at the same rate as per the DERC recommendations. It never does that. So that's why I think Atishi basically claimed that the center is responsible for this. Now, having I
but
really
you
do
would
not want to
agree,
respond to the
you would
preposterous
agree that
allegation.
NTPC cannot undercharge for the cost of what it produces.
That's why I said that the central government can set up a mechanism to buffer these charges, because it is ultimately the central government which is going to be responsible for the power produced by the NTPC. So set up a mechanism for all these states, so that a beautiful suggestion came from Mr. Iyer, that you can set up a price risk fund Yeah, it's a magnificent idea, but ultimately, where the money from this prices fund is going to come from? It is going to come from the same taxpayer. So, and then you can always
So then shouldn't the Aam
argue
Aadmi
that
Party government
it,
stop pretending that it's giving free power? Because it's not free. It's also a political tactic, Piyush Joshi.
Yes.
yeah, certainly
That-
nothing is
Stop
free.
pretending.
No, no,
No, you
look,
like
you know,
you like the
it is
you
a
like the
welfare scheme. It is a
political
welfare
you like
scheme.
the political advantages that come with saying free power, and then when you have to raise rates, you want to lob the ball on the center. Say it. If you think it's a popular enough government, say that we want to continue giving free power, but someone has to bear the cost, so it's going to go up.
So the Delhi government is bearing the cost, and the Delhi government has also ordered
Delhi
for
government means the
an
Delhi
audit.
taxpayer is
For an
bearing the
audit.
cost.
And just quick response to the BJP spokesperson charges of Kejriwal taking a commission from the discoms. Kejriwal is taking commission. That's why the Delhi government is fighting in the Supreme Court against the High Court ruling of a CAG audit. That's why the Delhi government has ordered the audits of the discom by a CAG impaneled private auditor. I'm amazed. I'm amazed to the level that the BJP can, stoop down to
Quick response from Ms.
any proof
Abbas
of
and
that
then I
on
move.
national television.
Yes, quick response from Ms. Abbas. Yes.
No, Tamanna. No, like always, official or unofficial spokesperson of Aam Aadmi Party, what they do is just
What's
try
your
to,
problem?
figure
I'm
out
on the
things.
panel, whether official or unofficial. What's your problem?
That was
why-
very
why-
short.
let
Hear
me
me out. I
one
never
minute.
spoke between you.
1 minute,
I
Piyush
never,
Joshi, let us speak.
I never spoke over you. I never spoke over you.
Yes, just respond to the
never
points.
spoke
Why
over
do you
Mr.
keep
Joshi. I
harping
just
about
want to know one
official
thing.
and
Whatever,
unofficial?
you're a
1 minute,
supporter.
1 minute,
You're a
Piyush
supporter.
Joshi.
Okay,
Let
I
us
just-
speak.
I'm
You
a
respond to
supporter.
my
Let us
question.
speak,
Let's
please.
not waste time, Mr. Joshi. I
Yeah,
just have
yeah.
one single question. Why was Arvind Kejriwal in so much of hurry that he did not wait the official chairperson of the ERC to take charge? Why is it that he literally forced a member of the ERC to take that decision? Could he not wait for 4 days? I just wanted that answer. I just wanted you to tell me the reason. Probably I don't know. Please, kind of tell me so that I can be knowledgeable, so that I can know what's happening in the Delhi government. Why the chairman was not supposed to take, you did not allow to take him charge.
You are the Trikaldarshi on the panel, ma'am. So is your party. You know how much commission has Mr. Arvind Kejriwal taken. And despite him ordering all the audits, despite the Delhi government
See,
fighting
what
in Supreme
question
Court.
I had asked, you had no answer to that. You stand exposed to
Okay, I'm going to go back to Harry
come
Dhaul.
on.
I'm going to
In
go
your
back to
mind,
Harry
in your
Dhaul
mind,
because
in
we
your
need to
mind.
remember, I have a solution-oriented
Was
question
diluted
for
because
Harry
of
Dhaul and Professor Iyer. Harry Dhaul, we are planning to bump up our
You stand
sources of
exposed,
renewable
my
energy.
friend.
We are planning to bump up our sources of renewable energy. At the end of the day, this is all electricity dependent on coal, dependent on crude
Yes.
oil, what is called as dirty fuel. Before we keep suffering the prices of something that we don't make, we have to import, and then someone has to pay, either the taxpayer or those who use more than 200 units, etc. Why aren't we as a nation focusing more on cheaper renewable fuel?
Okay, so quick answers because you're running out of time. Firstly, renewable energy is not constant. You get solar energy for roughly 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you look at the present trend of power consumption across the country, solar energy is not able to meet the peak demands, which is around 5 o'clock in the evening to about 9:30, 10 at night in most places. And Delhi in particular goes up to 3 o'clock in the morning thanks to the air conditioning loads. So you need to have an intermediate way to store this energy. So energy storage at the moment is the option that people are looking at. The government is working on it at the central level. And a lot of hard work is being put in, but it's extremely expensive and a lot of work is to be done. Second point, please understand that the order that's been passed by the regulator is for the period of April 2022 onwards till December 2022 order. And the reason why the urgency to pass the order, as my respected colleague from BJP said, what was the urgency? The urgency is that if he is mandated to pass the order every quarter, but he had already delayed it for 3 quarters, and the person who was supposed to be appointed as the chairperson of the DRC had declined the earlier person. So by the time the new appointments came, there was a lot of delay. Now, having said that, even if he had been appointed, This is based on the system of ARR and based on the system of audits. So therefore, the question of doing this in any other form, even if you had a new chairman, my humble submission to the panel is that that wouldn't have made any difference, number one. Number two, please understand that, we keep saying that coal is a dirty fuel and coal is this and coal is that. But please understand, in our energy transition, which is going to be for the next 30 years, coal is still going to be king, because that's the only way you can get constant power 24/7, including the middle of the night or in the day, etc., etc. You're not dependent on the monsoon coming in, or the wind starting, or the wind switching off,
Right.
or the wind power not being there, etc., etc. So intermittent power is great. It's environmentally friendly, but it's not available all the time. Now, coming to the last point that was raised, the tariff increase is there for all to see. Now, if you say the argument, Tamanna, that you used was a very important one, that even if you subsidize poor people, which you should as a government, that's your job, then you would be charging it off to the paying consumer. And this is not only a bane in Delhi, this is a bane across the country. The paying consumers are being loaded with more and more tariff increases to subsidize certain sections. And the reason for that is that though the governments are trying to fill up the gap, I'm not very clear about how much Delhi does, but most governments try and fill up the gap by paying off the discount, etc. But there is still a revenue gap. So when there's a revenue gap of this size, there is no option but to increase the tariff. But in this particular case of Delhi, it's only the fuel which has gone up, and the power purchase costs have gone up thanks to last year's coal crisis. So let's not forget, again, in the conclusion, that Delhi imports most of its power from outside Delhi. Those are run by central government owned NTPC type of projects, which have got very high fixed costs, by the way. I must also flag at this stage, one of the ways to reduce the tariff would have been, if the central government takes a decision, that all projects which are now competitively bid, in the case of NTPC projects, they are not competitively bid. So their fixed charges are pretty high. And so therefore, if the government is serious and can bite this bullet, I don't know whether it can, is to see if the fixed charges of NTPC can be reduced because they didn't go through the competitive bidding route throughout the last 10 years. Last point, the population of Delhi has gone up by 83% to 3.5 crores roughly now in the last 10 years. And so has the demand for electricity, whether it's for the poorer sections or otherwise. And therefore, in my estimate, Delhi was around 2,500, 3,000 megawatts around 2010, 11, 12. You're touching 7,000. My concern is, and I want to flag it in your show, is where is the transmission system going to be able to run this huge increase, which is taking place at a fantastic pace? I'm concerned about the transmission system.
I think that's and as economies, remember, we always celebrate the growth of the Indian economy. As economies grow and people consume more, they need more electricity. Absolutely. All economic growth comes with an increased power requirement. Professor Iyer, wouldn't it be great if our political parties were talking about these real issues?
The problem with our politics is the politics of energy is not only Indian, it's worldwide. And to understand that, we have to now find ways and means to increase renewable energy. While I agree with Harry Dhaul's position that we will continue to have coal as some sort of a king, but we need a renewable as a queen. And there, I'm not talking of intermittent power. Nobody in this panel has an idea of pump storage and hydropower. I have been championing the cause of hydropower. Without hydropower and now pump storage, for which there is a policy, for which we had a meeting a couple of days back at the New Delhi Institute of Management, no grid balance, no capacity index, no power in the off-peak non-monsoon zone will be available. So the solutions are very dynamic and large. And the problem is NTPC's own portfolio, although it's a great company, does not have too much of hydropower. And that is where NTPC also has to focus. It's my own alumni, Mr. Gurdeep Singh, who's at the helm. He's a wonderful guy who's come also performed in his earlier career. So I hope Gurdeep can hear this interview and work a little bit on the pump storage and other aspects which can actually enable not only Delhi, but the whole country. We need to focus on real renewable energy, there is no option.
Absolutely,
difficult to mine
absolutely.
coal.
Cheaper,
It is
cleaner,
difficult to mine
and
coal.
forward-looking. We are going to be stuck otherwise if we're dependent on imported coal and imported crude. I have to wrap it here.
Yeah.
I have to wrap it here, but I want to thank all of you for joining us on the lead story this evening, and we hope we've managed to bring some insight into something which was just being seen as a political fight and a headline, but there's so much more to it. So thank you to all of you for joining us on that. Now,